Hey, sports card fans, it's John, Wade Boggs fan. Hope you're all doing well. It's time to take a look at the top 10 PSA vintage baseball card sales on eBay for cards from the 1940s for the month of November 2023. Now, I've been doing a separate video for cards from the 1940s for several months now, and it's become apparent that Jackie Robinson cards rule the 1940s. But on occasion, there are some other players that make the top 10 list, and November is no exception. So, which other players happen to make this month's top 10 list? Let's go find out. Starting off at number 10, we have this 1948/49 Babe Ruth in a PSA 4. Really great looking PSA 4. I know it's a little off center, but boy, does that background color pop. The registry seems to be really on. It is a newer graded slab, but man, I'd take that as a PSA 4. This one sold on November 27th for $5,499.99. It was listed as an auction. There was one bid. According to VCP's database, though, this particular sale did not show up in their database. Usually, it's for buy it now cards that sometimes don't always show up in VCP's database. Usually, when it's an auction, it does. So, not sure why this one did not make VCP's database, but if this sale did go through, it sold for a little bit less than the current VCP average price of $5,659. The record high sale for a PSA 4 Babe Ruth was $10,742 back in May of this year through memory lane. At number 9, we have the Duke Snider 1949 Bowman rookie card in a PSA 8. Just an absolutely gorgeous card. Normally, when I see vintage cards in really high grades, sometimes they just don't look right. Like they're not supposed to look that nice for cards that are that old. But maybe because of the surface wear, there's a little bit of what looks like dirt or darkness on the surface there. It's a relatively solid black background and a clear focus for this Duke Snider card. Just a gorgeous looking copy. This one sold on November 19th for $5,656. It was an auction. There were 94 bids. The current VCP average price is $5,767, so this one actually sold slightly less than the current average. The record high sale for a PSA 8 copy was $8,200 back in April of 2021 through a PWCC listing on eBay. At number 8, we have the 1948/49 Leaf Jackie Robinson in a PSA 1. Now, again, as PSA 1s go, it looks like there is some sort of crease going down the middle of the card, but the centering's really nice. That yellow background is pretty clean. The registration and the color of the image is right there. The back looks nice as well. To me, yeah, the corners may be what brings it down to a 1 and the crease. But overall, to me, that is a great looking PSA 1. This one sold on November 22nd for $6,200. It was an auction. There were 51 bids, and it did sell quite a bit above the current VCP average price of $4,656, probably due to the overall eye appeal of this PSA 1. The record high sale, though, for a PSA 1 was $17,000. Back in March of 2021 through an eBay listing. At number 7, we have the 1948/49 Larry Doby rookie card in a PSA 6. Now, there's definitely some off-centering here. The corners look sharp, maybe slightly off on the registration a little bit, but colors are really nice and bright on this copy. The back's fairly well centered, so probably based on all the overall conditions, deserving of a PSA 6th grade. But this Larry Doby is a short print in the 48/49 leaf set. This one sold on November 7th. For $6,359. It was an auction, 37 bids, and sold for $300 roughly under the current VCP average price of $6,630. The record high sale for a PSA 6 was $7,250 back in October of 2021 through a memory lane auction. At number 6. We have the 1948/49 leaf Stan Musial in a PSA 7. Just like the Larry Doby, a little off center. This one may have just slightly better corners. Similar surface issues. This one maybe looks a little bit dirtier, so to speak, than the Larry Doby. But overall, a great looking Stan Musial card. This one sold on November 5th for $7,100. It was an auction. There were 43 bids and sold well below the current VCP average price of $11,550 for a PSA 7. The record high was $17,400 back in April of 2022 through an REA auction. At number 5, we have another 48/49 leaf Jackie Robinson, this one in a 2.5. Again, off-centering, just like the other Larry Doby and Stan Musial, but overall a very clean, bright, well-registered copy of the Jackie Robinson. Off-center on the bit on the back as well a little bit. This one sold on November 7th for $8,250. Another auction. This one had 43 bids and sold about $1,000 less than the current VCP average price of $9,248. So again, not sure why the Jackie Robinson and Stan Musial sold, less than the current average given their grades. The Larry Doby, maybe because it's a short print, not too many of those copies come up for sale. But interesting that the Stan Musial and Jackie Robinson, at least for this copy, sold below the current VCP average prices. The record high sale for a 2.5 was $17,300 back in March of 2021 through an eBay auction. At number 4, we have the 49 Bowman Satchel Paige in a gorgeous PSA 6. Fairly good centering, bold, bright colors, great registration. The hat may be a little bit off. If you look down at the bottom of the card, some of the coloring may be just off registration a little bit, but overall, what a gorgeous copy of the 49 Bowman Satchel Paige. This one sold on November 16th for $9,449. It was an auction, 47 bids, and this one sold above about $500 or so above the current VCP average price of $8,927. The record high sale for a PSA 6, $11,750 back on June of this year through an eBay auction. At number 3, we have another 48/49 leaf Jackie Robinson, this one in a PSA 5. Other than that little sort of print mark across the top of his hat there, fairly well centered. Again, overall good registration, color, great looking example of that Jackie Robinson. This one sold on November 16th for $19,748. There were 47 bids at that auction. The VCP average price was right around where this card sold, $19,830. The record high sale for a PSA 5 was $67,655 back in the bubble days of COVID, April 2021, through a PWCC auction on eBay. At number 2, we have another PSA 5 4849 Leaf Jackie Robinson. Now, to me, this does look, in terms of eye appeal, slightly better. It's a little, the surface is a little dirtier, but you don't have that print line across his hat. Again, overall, great coloring. To me, great centering for a PSA 5. Overall, a great example of that card. This one sold on November 6th for $23,300. There was 61 bids at that auction, and again, we have that VCP average price of $19,830, so this sold even higher above the VCP average price. And again, we have that record sale back in April of 2021. And the number one card for the month of November, the 4849 Leaf Satchel Paige, another short print in the set, very popular card for Satchel Paige collectors. This one is in a PSA 2. You definitely have some off centering there. Registration's off a little bit, slightly muted color on the image there, but overall, a PSA 2, these do not come up for sale very often. This one sold on November 7th for $26,318. At that auction, there were 64 bids, and it sold, the current VCP average price is that price because it happens to be a record high sale for a PSA 2. The previous high sale of a PSA 2 was way back in October of 2014 for $6,750. So it just goes to show how rare some of these Satchel Paige 48/49 Leaf cards are when they do come up for auction. Again, this is a lower graded copy. Maybe copies in higher grades, there's slightly more population, but not many sales of a PSA 2 Satchel Paige from the 48/49 Leaf set. But there you go, the top 10 PSA vintage baseball card sales on eBay for cards from the 1940s for November 2023. As always, would love to know in the comments what you think about the different cards that made this month's top 10 list. With that, that's all I have for you. So until next time, thanks for watching.